Hey everyone, my name is Sean and I'm a lifestyle and sports photographer from Toronto. Today I'm going to be taking you through what's in my camera bag for the 2023 season. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's dive into what's in my camera bag for this upcoming season. We'll go through each of these items later and why they're in my camera bag, but for now, I've got the Canon 1DX Mark II, the Canon 1DX Mark I. As a third body and a backup, I've got the 5D Mark III. For my shorter lenses, 17-40 and the 35mm f1.4. And then for longer lenses, I've got the trusty 70-200 2.8. I believe this is the version 2. And then this season, I'm very happy to be shooting with a Canon 400mm 2.8. This is the version 1, I believe, or sorry, yeah, version 1 IS. I have shot with a version 1 non-IS, and it's a great lens. This is just maybe a pound lighter. And to put that on, I've got a Trent from Three Legged Things. So really awesome monopod, and of course, just a card holder with all my CF cards in there. Okay, let's hop right into the cameras. So my main camera for the season is the Canon 1DX Mark II. I picked this up in 2021 and I still think it's very relevant for 2023. I have a lot of friends who are shooting on mirrorless. I have some friends that are still shooting on more traditional optical viewfinder cameras, and honestly, these cameras still produce amazing images. For the cost you can get these at these days, definitely competes with a brand new R5 or mirrorless camera. Obviously, you don't have the form factor of those cameras. This is a lot heavier setup, especially if you're going to a lot of gigs a week. You're lugging around a lot of kit. But to be honest, like, I love the ergonomics of these cameras. I love having a big body, something that I can hold very comfortably. It's also, the weight's distributed very well too. So it just feels good when you're using it. You know, the main purpose for me upgrading to this from my 5D Mark III is the speed of the autofocus and the buffering speed. So essentially, you need autofocus to perform when you want it. If the play is coming towards you, if the players are celebrating in front of you, you can't have the camera searching around for where it wants to focus. You can set your autofocus with this and it will pull it every single time. Going into the buffer, essentially, if you're unfamiliar with what buffer is, it's basically the amount of time it takes for the files to save onto the card. So with a 5D Mark III, for example, at 6 frames per second, it takes probably 6 or 7 photos and then it needs to buffer. And then that time between the next frame that you take is gonna be drastically slower than the one before. Where on this camera, I can take about 75 images before it really begins to struggle buffering. So if the play is coming towards me, you know, the players are entering around that 18-yard box, passing around the ball, I can take a bunch of frames there. Once it comes closer, I can then take just as many frames at the same speed as before, and I have no issues with the buffering. Essentially, you just don't miss any photos using this camera. Like I said, this is my main camera, so I'm most likely going to be putting the 400mm on this. I like to kind of have the best lens on the best camera body. This is how I like to work. But yeah, fantastic camera. So let's hop into the next one. I've got the Canon 1DX Mark I as well. So very similar to the 1DX Mark II. I believe it's maybe 1 megapixel lower, which if you're honestly just shooting digital content, it's totally fine. The frames per second is about the same. I think the 1DX Mark II is 16 and the 1DX Mark I is 14. Again, I've heard that the autofocus is about the same on this as the 1DX Mark II. So with these two cameras, I'm hoping to not miss too much during the game. And I'll be putting my 7200 on this, or I'll be putting my 35, depending on, you know, what's going on during the game, especially after, once the game's ended. I like to have a prime on a very fast body. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my shorter lenses. So this 35mm f1.4 version 1 is probably my favorite lens of all time. I purchased this in January of 2013, so it's been with me for 10 years now. It's never failed me, still works amazing. I have friends that have the brand new version 2 of this, and the images still compare. I can't see a need to replace this until it breaks. The reason for this being in my bag for the soccer season is mainly for celebrations. So I did mention I have a 5D Mark III with me. Still debating if I want to carry 3 cameras on the field with me, but this will go on that 5D Mark III. So if the players are celebrating and they're running over to the corner flag or somewhere behind the net, I'll have something short that I can make a great image out of. You get a lot of good background in this. I can stop it down to f1.8, get a really nice bokeh, and it's just an incredible lens. And then my 17-40, so obviously it has 35 capabilities in here. It's only f4 though, and it is an older lens. I do feel like for an L quality lens, the glass is not as sharp as I would like it. But I put this in mainly for the pre-game photos. So if I'm shooting, scenics of the stadium, this is a really fun lens to do that with. But also during warm-ups. So sometimes the players come over to the side of the field, they clap, they wave, they get really close to the stanchions there. So this is just a fun wide lens to get some interesting photos during warm-ups. I have had this lens on me occasionally during the games. I'll toss some photos up here. So I brought this with me for the Canadian men's national game against the United States about a year ago in Hamilton. And it was perfect for celebrations, but if you know anything about shooting sports, it's a lot about right place at the right time. I'm hesitant to bring this with me all the time because it honestly could just sit there unless, that amazing moment happens right in front of you. But it's in my bag because it's a great all-around lens that I still have confidence in using. So getting into my longer lenses, I've got the 7200. This is the version 2 IS f2.8. So this is every sports photographer's probably their favorite lens. To me, shooting soccer, this is especially important anywhere from that 18-yard box and closer. Get a lot of goal celebrations on this, get a lot of really close-up play photos on this lens. It's essentially just like the perfect distance lens. Yeah, the 200 is a little bit short for plays that are, kind of around the halfway mark or farther away. But, anything in the attacking end for the home team, this is fantastic. It is a 2.8. I tend to stop it at around 3.2 or 3.5. It just makes everything a little bit more in focus, a little bit sharper as well. The 2.8 is great for certain photos, but I really don't want to compromise a potentially soft image, especially when I just need to get the moment. So, and when the play is moving around rather quickly, I'd rather have this focus, have the image be in focus, and have a nice tack sharp image. So this is in my bag for sure. This is going to be going on my 1DX Mark I. And yeah, just really looking forward to using this again this year. All right, let's get into the big fun lens. So before I talk about the 400, last year I was using a 300 f4. That was in my bag for a couple years. It's a great lens. It is only an f4, so it's not as fast as a 2.8. And although 300 millimeters is, a great distance lens for soccer, I found with the f4, it wasn't too much of a different image than my 7200. I wasn't reaching for it as much as I thought. More often than not, if I was running 2 bodies last year, it was a 7200 on one and the 35 on the other. I felt I was going to get a more impactful image having that 35 just ready to go, rather than kind of, leaving the 300 kind of on the ground beside me. It just seemed like a waste of bringing around 2 bodies. So last October, I rented a 400 millimeter and used it for a game, and I loved it. I used it almost the whole game. The ability to separate your foreground from your background with this lens is just incredible, especially if you're looking to capture those player isolation shots around the halfway mark or just inside kind of the attacking end. This lens is incredible. It's, like I said, it's 2.8, so really shallow depth of field at 400 millimeters. I'm probably going to be stopping this at around 3.2, similar to my 7200, just to ensure everything is in focus and get that tack sharp image. It comes in at about 11 pounds, so it's, a very heavy lens. You have to put this on a monopod. meaning you're a little bit less mobile. I'm kind of hoping to kind of get around that, still be able to run to the other side if there's a celebration. But really looking forward to using this lens. It does seem to be the staple in every soccer photographer's bag, so I just had to pick it up. Okay, let's talk about bags. So obviously I've got a lot of kit. Like a lot of photographers, it's a struggle to find the perfect bag, perfect carry solution to bring all of your gear to all of your shoots. So a few years ago, about 2017, I bought this Mountain Smith backpack. So I actually saw this in an Andrew Kearns video, if you're familiar with his work. Amazing Seattle photographer. Shout out Andrew if you're watching this, but this has been everywhere with me, from Europe to around the States, to every game I go to, every shoot I go to, my camera equipment's in this bag. I'm able to put my 7200 and batteries in there, and then in the top I can put another body in there and a prime. So it's honestly the perfect setup, the perfect bag. As well as a laptop sleeve, so I can bring my laptop for filing at halftime and at the end of the game, and a couple other pockets for random accessories. So now the other bag I'm very excited about this year is this one. So this is from Kinesis. Kinesis is a company out of Utah. I found these guys just from a quick Google search. Essentially, I was looking for a solution to bring the 400mm to a game. If you're familiar with that lens, it comes in a big hard case that's about the size of a carry-on luggage. Has no wheels, has no shoulder strap, so it's a very uncomfortable bag to be carrying around. And I needed something that I could be a bit more mobile with, so I bought this. It essentially has a nice clip on the top, opens up, holds the lens perfectly with the lens hood on. Comes with a shoulder strap as well. So the idea is I'm gonna be putting the Mountain Smith on my back and putting this on my shoulder, and just kind of walking into the field like that. So I did buy it with this extra sort of camera body holder. So if I need to, I can put one of the 1DXs in here to make a little bit more room in my camera bag. So, but yeah, really looking forward to this. Shout out Richard at Kinesis for getting me that bag. So really excited about using them for the upcoming season. And there you have it. So if you have any questions about my kit, leave a comment below. Follow me on Instagram at Sean Pollock. Check out my website, www.seanpollock.ca, and hope to see you around the field. Thanks.